Are you able to see the screen, Dr. Sitaram?
Yes, madam, we can see, madam.
Okay,
Hello.
okay. Please
Hello.
go ahead. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, just a minute, madam. Now Rani madam is going to introduce Sarika, Dr. Sarika madam. Madam, please continue.
Thank you, sir. I am Rani. I'm immense pleasure to introduce you, ma'am. I'm Dr. Sarika Jain graduated from Jawaharlal Nehru University in India in 2001. Her doctorate awarded in 2011 is the field of knowledge representation in artificial intelligence. She has served in the field of education for over 19 years and is currently in service at the National Institute of Technology, Kurukshetra in India. Dr. Jain has authored or co-authored over 150 publications including books. Her current research interests are knowledge management and analytics, the semantic web, ontology engineering and intelligence systems. Dr. Jain has supervised two doctor scholars who are pursuing their postdoctoral studies, one in Spain and other in Germany. She has been involved as a program and a steering committee member at many postgraduate conferences in India and also abroad. So she has two funded research projects. One is ongoing, the funded by CSIR, TEQIP 3, and it is the worth of 2,58,000, and the other completed, funded by the Defense Research and the Development Organization in India, and the worth of 40 lakhs. Dr. Jain has held various administrative positions at the department and the institution level in her career, like head of the department, hostel warden, faculty in charge of technical and cultural fest, member of research degree committee, board of studies, and central in charge examinations. She works in collaboration with various researchers across the globe, including in Germany, Australia, and Malaysia, Spain, and the USA and Romania. She is a senior member of the IEEE member of ACM and a life member of CSI, IEANG, and IACSIT. Ma'am, welcome, ma'am. We are very happy to share to accompany with you, ma'am. We are I'm welcome you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Rani. You have spoken so nicely the profile. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are collected here for a talk towards artificial intelligence. May I know, is the recording on?
Yes, madam, recording is on.
Yeah, okay, so I'll continue.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, fine. Good afternoon, participants. Today I am here to speak about artificial intelligence and the way forward towards artificial general intelligence, in fact. And as Ms. Rani has already introduced my profile, I am Sarika from NIT Kurukshetra, and my talk today is about the way forward with artificial intelligence. These are certain keywords I have mentioned that I will be covering in my talk. AGI, ANI, speak about knowledge, symbolic reasoning, and the statistical models. These are the two basic approaches I will be covering. And should we work with only machine learning or should we go forward? So the agenda of the session will be, I'll be speaking about the statistical models, their nature and limitations. Then I will briefly introduce what is symbolic reasoning and a contrast between the two models, that is the symbolic and the statistical, for a way towards the hybrid approach, that is contextual computing. And then I will conclude and the summary will follow. Very well-known researchers, Andrew Ng, you might have all have heard, from Stanford, and Baidu also he's working upon. From Google, there is Geoffrey Hilton, co-founder Visharius, Dilip George, then Demis Hassabis. All of you have heard about them, and they have spoken so well about the statistical approaches, the machine learning, the deep learning. See what Andrew Ng says, that he has never seen an algorithm knock over the benchmarks like deep learning. Geoffrey says that there are no theoretical limitations in deep learning, at least he can't see them. Dilip George, the co-founder of Visharius, says that human level artificial intelligence has the potential to help humanity thrive more than any other invention that has come before it. The co-founder of DeepMind, He says that for a very long time, it will be a complementary tool for a very long time to go. And yes, all of them are correct. And we'll see how. Here are some thoughts. Let us discuss upon it, because Gary Marcus, the CEO and co-founder and founder of Robust AI, what he's spoken is deep learning is a terrific tool for some kinds of problems, particularly those involving perceptual classification, like recognizing syllables and objects, but it is also not a panacea. What is panacea? A solution to all. So deep learning is not that. Yes, it can serve as a terrific tool. Well, so deep learning is not a universal solvent, but only a tool as others. Dr. Sitaram, may I know that will the participants like to interact in between? Yes, dear participants, if you really feel something that is troubling you in my talk, you could ask me on the midway also. Otherwise, after half an hour or so, I will ask you specifically if you have certain queries of yourself. So you can always raise your hand. You could always unmute your mic and speak to ask your query. Okay, so proceeding further, as I've just introduced that, yes, deep learning, machine learning, statistical tools, they are very, very important. They can serve as terrific tools, but they are not the universal solvent. They are just as a tool as other tools are there. So let us begin with it. What is machine learning? A very, very brief view from 20,000 feet, as said by Andy Jefferson in his talk at Connected Data. What he says is, you get a training model. All of you are very much aware of the machine learning approach. So you get data from, you do information extraction, NLP, computer vision, speech processing, any type of multimodal data you could get, you could access it. And then you have some model. The model can be pattern recognition. You could classify neural network, deep learning, and then you get a trained model. You train your model. After training, you get certain parameters, you learn, the machine learns, and after that, you could do any type of prediction. Yes, very well. So meaning that machines can learn automatically and also adjust actions automatically. These statistical models falls under the umbrella of artificial intelligence that uses data to train the algorithms in order to perform a task, provides systems with the ability to automatically learn and also to improve from experience. These are very important terms, small words used in the definition. So the machines are able to automatically learn. The machines are able to improve from experience because they are learning now. Otherwise, from the previous expert systems, the machines were not able to learn. And also, you do not need to explicitly program the machines. You might know the services like recommendation systems on Netflix and YouTube. There are search engines like Yahoo, Google. There are various voice assistants. You have Alexa, then Google Home. So all of them use machine learning in either one way or the other. So what are the various key ingredients for machine learning? Lots and lots of data. Yes, very obvious. They are very flexible models. You should have the models. You have to create the models which are very flexible. Enough computing power is required. And very important, you require powerful priors that can defeat the curse of dimensionality. All the ML researchers are aware of what is dimensionality problem in ML and what is the curse of dimensionality. So we have seen in the past decade that ML has revolutionized the world. And these are the 5 key ingredients. When the dimensionality increases, the volume of the space also increases and the available data itself becomes sparse. The last one is a very good ingredient, that is computationally efficient inference is to be there, which is a bit missing in ML problems. We are not able to provide the reasoning part. We are not able to provide the inference part to the ML models. That is the crux of the talk for today. From where do we get all these 5 ingredients? Let us see. Facebook and Google, yes, they are providing the massive amount of data. Massive parallelization is available in today's date. There is high processing power is available. And how to do the curse of dimensionality, how to overcome it. So compositionality comes as a solution only just to bypass the dimensionality problem. How do we do it? You create distributed representations using feature learning. You can say embeddings are available, and then deep architectures are very well there, so that dimensionality problem goes away, so that you are doing multiple levels of feature learning. Okay, so the different types of statistical models, or different types of, I should say, models, because I have also used the rule-based systems here as the first column you could see. This is an image which I have brought from Yoshua Bengio 2015, Deep Learning Theoretical Motivations, and have a look here. This slide is based upon his lecture, and the shaded boxes you can see in between, they indicate components that are able to learn from data. The learning components are the shaded boxes here. So you can see the rule-based systems, the knowledge is provided by experts, and the 100% knowledge is provided by the experts. There is no learning in the rule-based systems, the so-called expert systems in the old age. I should say today for the traditional systems, there is no learning at all. The classical ML systems, the features are manually designed and a classifier is there to obtain the output. Yes, very well known, the classical ML algorithms. Then comes representation learning. Why? Because the hand designed features now are automatically crafted. They are not handcrafted. The features are automatically discovered from data. So you have one more added learning layer in it for the representation learning. Then for dimensionality, you have to go deep. So deep learning algorithms came, and you do have now multiple level of features. So one more level of layer increases for making the curse of dimensionality, for bypassing it, and now they are much better than the previous ML algorithms. So you can see in this diagram how different parts relate to each other in the various different AI disciplines. So the nature of statistical models. DL is very good at learning in a static world, true. Executing low level patterns, true, but provided it is fed with a lot of data. And of course, more deep you go, it is more intelligent, but more black. When I say black, I mean something, because as soon as you go deeper, you dig deeper in anything, you get, for example, in mines, you get more intelligent, you get more things from there, whichever you are digging, but you get more black. Now, what does this black mean? I will discuss in the further slides. Neural networks and deep learning are very, very good at handling the nuisances and the messiness of the real world. Human, for example, just consider a human detecting a cat, a very common example. Whatsoever conditions a human is able to detect a cat. You can see a cat from different angles, different lighting conditions, even different breeds of cat, and even a cat which is partially occluded by an image. You can always identify that it is a cat. Now the problem with ML is getting the symbols from the real world is always much harder than the symbolic rule-based systems. So for DL, this is the basic problem. In contrast, the deep neural networks analyze and compare vast amount of annotated examples. How does it work? It finds relevant correlations and then finds similarities in the data, which in the test data which you have never seen before. So they are very good at computer vision. That is why they are able to identify those features of cat from the image. Can any one of you name these 3 laureates from the audience? Will you like to name these 3 laureates from the AI world, of course? You could write in the chat, you could speak, whatever way you feel good, you could raise your hand. Yes, dear, will you please name these 3 laureates? Try and out. You could click an image from your mobile phone and then do a search. All the smartphones are so efficient, they can tell you the name of these laureates. Tell at least one of them. You could unmute your mic and speak. Actually, this is the major drawback in online workshops. It is very difficult to interact. I cannot see your faces. Wow. So this is a guest has joined. What's your name, dear? So all the three names have come. Hats off to you. Very good. So they are the Turing Award winners. The three pioneers in AI. They have won the Turing Award in 2019. The Turing Award, which was introduced in 1966, and it is often called the Nobel Prize of Computing. It includes $1 million prize, which the three scientists will of course share. Right? So from left, it is LeCun, then Hinton, and then Bengio. Okay. So what is so special about these three researchers? The talk is specially about whatever they have spoken. All three are so good at deep learning. All three have spoken so much about deep learning that the world cannot go without deep learning, because learning is required. Yes, but there is one thing very important that they have spoken, which I'm just covering in the few next slides. Actually, the major question is that whether the AI of today is artificial general intelligence, super intelligence, or just the narrow intelligence. Whether it is ASI, AGI, or AN. Is AI of today the AI that we are really craving for? This is the major question for today's date. So let us try to cover it. First of all, let me define very briefly what are the three different types of artificial intelligence. First comes artificial superintelligence. The Oxford philosopher and leading AI thinker Nick Bostrom defines superintelligence as, listen carefully, an intellect that is much smarter than the best human brains in practically every field, including the scientific creativity and also the general wisdom and social skills. So artificial superintelligence, the superhuman, it is to come from, you can say, 2050 onwards. It is the ability to learn from experiences and from new data. It is the ability to perform a wide range of actions and also to generate the new computer code on its own to help achieve the objectives. It is the type of AI that may lead to extinction of human race from the planet. But ASI seems to be far from reality. The second lower level we call is artificial general intelligence. Let us have a look at it. You all might have watched The Terminator, The Matrix, Star Wars. Think of the conscious entities which are generating the human capabilities and many times even exceeding those capabilities. So this is what is artificial general intelligence. In AI books, you can see strong AI, we call it. So machines are becoming human beings. AGI is the ability to carry out different tasks that a human could do. The machines with AGI are conscious entities which are driven by emotions, and also they are self-driven, they are self-aware. Till date, we are not able to achieve ASI, but even we are not able to achieve AGI, it's just a dream. The machines with AGI, because they are conscious, and machines are not in today's date conscious. Look at some more examples. Look at these examples. Please speak about this image. Please speak upon. Unmute your mic. Let us have a small quiz. Can you identify this image? If you are listening to news, you are looking at newspapers, and you are really interested in artificial intelligence, you will recognize who is this sitting. Yeah, guys, what is this image about? Any clues?
Chess. Hello.
Yes, chess is visible. That is true. But who is the guy sitting? And what I want to say from this image? Okay, I will tell this one. Then you please tell me the second one. This is IBM Deep Blue, a computer which is playing chess Yes, with Gary Kasparov, the world chess champion. So IBM Deep Blue has defeated Gary Kasparov in the game of chess. Look here, what is this? What is this game? And who is sitting here? Anybody from the audience, please? From the organizers, from the audience? Come on, this is AlphaGo. It's written there. So Google's DeepMind is a company which has created AlphaGo and Google has taken it over. So Google DeepMind's AlphaGo, it has won over the world's #1 Go player, Chinese KG. So these are games. Okay, another example. What is this? It is a chatbot. IBM Watson. It was victorious over the human champions of the TV game show Jeopardy. IBM Watson in today's date supports more than 11 languages. Till March 2020, it was 11. Okay, another example is semantic search. Google decided to call it semantic search as knowledge graph. Then digital assistant, Baidu's personal assistant Duer. It is accepting orders at KFC restaurants in China. Then you have speech recognition applications. This is Apple Siri. Then there is Amazon Alexa. They answer the questions that you give. They are able to make recommendations, and whatever, the driverless cars are very much common and they are running on the road in today's date. Weather forecast. So why have I brought all these examples? And a very special example is AlphaStar. I will talk about it later also. This is the most recent example of 2019. It is an AI system also developed by the same Google's DeepMind. What is so important and crucial about it? It has defeated the top human players PLO and Mana at the game StarCraft 2, a notoriously difficult real-time strategy computer game. The form of AI we actually work with in today's date is artificial narrow intelligence. Whatever all these examples I am talking about, this is artificial narrow intelligence, the weak AI. So ANI excels in one specific task, doing it much faster and much more accurately than a human. But the problem is that ANI is not robust and generalizable. I repeat, AI is not robust, ANI is not robust, and it is not generalizable without extensive retraining. So ANI aims to allow machines to master certain specific tasks. For example, as you have seen the game of Go, the machine you are preparing to play and win the game of Go will not be able to play chess. For example, the recognizing human faces in photographs, driving a vehicle. The problem with ANI is it is very good at doing one task, but you are not able to generalize it. ANI is already with us in our day-to-day lives, but AGI is still a distant dream. AGI is ANI plus ability to reason, ability to plan and solve the problems, ability to think in abstract manner, do the abstraction, the ability to comprehend very complex ideas, the ability to learn very quickly, generalize it, to learn from experience, and to generalize it also for the other similar problems maybe. So we need to reach AGI, and what I mean today is the ML, the DL and the statistical models alone will not be able to fulfill our dream of AGI. Okay, so I have brought forward certain limits of statistical models. The first one, very important, is training data. The ML models are suffering from lack of data. The DL models, the ML models are data hungry. We even call it the cold start problem also. As you feed more data, you get better results. Even many times the training data is incomplete. For the same set of tasks, you should complete the training data means the diversity of data also. To some extent, the training data has to be diverse. The training data is to be of good quality. For the diversity of training data also, it is a very good example of the mammography databases, because they have almost all the x-rays from white women but not from the black women. The MIT MGH model is equally accurate for white and the black women. Yes, they have done it good. Another major problem with the statistical models is highly satisficing. The model training is largely time consuming and it is largely offline. So it is missing the real time training. Incremental training is not there. The interactive training is not there. So it is like the batch processing as you used to do. So the data driven algorithms implicitly assume that the model of the world they are capturing is stable. From the real world, if they get something new data, then they are required to be retrained. The next limitation is missing exploratory research. What do I mean when I say exploratory research? It is missing the general intelligence. It is missing the AGI. It is not able to generalize itself. The statistical models do not generalize correctly to any new data or application that is coming on its way. Every narrow application has to be specially trained with the training examples of that domain. Black box AI, that is lack of model explainability, lack of model interpretability. All the DL models are opaque, they are difficult to debug. So this is always a major problem. The black box AI. For example, if an individual is denied a loan, for example, yes, it is a major problem, because why is the bank denying me a loan? You have to tell me, you have to explain the concept to me. In an example, you could take crime. If a suspect is convicted, for example, you have to tell why are you being convicted. Health is a very major issue. If a person is asymptotically diagnosed with a disease which is so deadly, you have to tell the patient that why are we saying that you have such a disease. Subsymbolic AI extracts patterns automatically. It extracts rules also from the large data sets, and it automates the classification task. They are very good at doing it. But why exactly they have done it? Why exactly they have recommended certain action? They are not able to tell it. They are not able to implement the human cognition. What is cognition actually? The ability to handle ambiguity also, you can say. The abstract conceptualization, you can say. The reasoning part, you can say. Even the short-term memory problems, the context, you can say. All these are covered in human cognition. So yes, till date, the statistical models are not able to fully capture the human cognition. The statistical models are stochastic, truly, rather than deterministic. Though neural network is deterministic, yes, it is deterministic once trained, but the training algo in itself is stochastic. So it is a problem. Why are we talking about stochastic and being deterministic? Because in deterministic model, the output is fully determined by the parameter values and the initial conditions that you pass. So we require our model to be deterministic, otherwise it will be a vague output. Another important limitation is background knowledge, that is the context is missing. The subsymbolic approaches blindly search for the strongest signal in data. They are self-contained. They are not well integrated with prior knowledge. Because why it is so? They are lacking background knowledge. They are lacking a cushion of background knowledge, that is life experiences, to understand the meaning of those symbols. This is what that makes the statistical models or the subsymbolic approaches brittle, and they're easy to fool. The DL approaches, yes, they are easy to fool, they are brittle. If I quote an example of outdoor dog, what example do we call it? Outdoor dog and indoor cat. Yes, outdoor dogs and indoor cats. So if an ML algo is shown pics of dogs and cats, how does it recognize? It looks for strongest signal which differentiates a dog from a cat. How does it do it? It looks at the surroundings of the pictures and it trains itself by the surroundings. Okay, the cats are inside the house, so the house surrounding should be there. How does a human look at it? When a human is shown a pic of dogs and cats, then they have various other life experiences also in the background knowledge, and using that background knowledge they categorize a dog or cat. So the training result for dog the parameters become outdoor, and for cat the parameter become indoor for a machine. So it is likely to fail if it is given to categorize a lion, because a lion it will see an outdoor image, so it will not say it a cat, because for what it has been trained for is dogs are outdoor, so it will call a lion a dog instead of calling it a cat. Overfitting and underfitting, it is a very important problem. The input features have to be very carefully selected and normalized if you're doing a DL algo. Having too many features or not having the representative data set, the bare minimum representative data set that is required will lead to either overfitting or to underfitting. Monotonic reasoning is very important limitation of statistical or the sub-symbolic approaches, because retraining is necessary to adjust to the new incoming data. They are largely monotonic. If any new data is to come, then retraining will be required. They are poor at handling the exceptions. Exceptions are being treated in today's classical ML algorithms as noise. They are missing common sense reasoning. To some extent, I have already covered this point, because the real world data is full of surprises always. I recall an example quoted by Gary Marcus again in his write-up, The Next Decade in AI. He says the cat is on the mat. He asked his little child, could you put an elephant on the mat? He asked his kid, could you put an elephant on the mat? Just look at the beautiful answer that he replied. Leave it. Look at ये ठंडा है. Look at the answer that his kid replied. He said, yes, very well, I could put an elephant on a cat, but it is really big. So it depends how big mat you give to me. So in no time, he created a fictitious word and its entities also, and applied his common sense knowledge to reason about the word, all entirely without the labeled examples, without any pattern matching, without any statistical models. So this common sense reasoning is being missed by the machines. Open-ended inference, a major problem for ML models. They can only answer questions if they can be explicitly inferred. For example, John promised Mary to leave. John promised to leave Mary. It is not clear to the machines that who is leaving whom. For the mission critical applications, for the out of distribution inputs, it creates again a problem. For example, a motor scooter can be confused with a parachute if it is toppled over. A school bus could be confused with a garbage truck with a punching bag. All many examples are there. Let us have a look at certain instances where deep learning has produced some unrealistic results. Look here at this image. I was already talking about the school bus. This is in fact a school bus. From Alcon et al. I have brought this image. Neural networks are easily fooled by strange poses of familiar objects. This Google Inception version 3 classifier has correctly labeled the school buses, but it has failed to recognize a school bus when it is tipped over on its side on a snowy road. It has told that it is a snow plow with 0.92 accuracy, it is saying, which is wrong. Similarly, look at another example, the adversarial examples for evaluating the reading comprehension systems. Look at this reading comprehension sample. This is a sample of how adversarially inserted material fools our large-scale language model. Look at the blue sentence. It has been inserted intentionally and the machine failed. The added sentence, this added sentence doesn't contradict the correct sentence, the correct answer, and it doesn't even confuse the humans, but it has produced the drastic results by the ML algorithms. Another example is AlphaGo. AlphaGo is a merger of Monte Carlo tree search That is the symbolic approach. This tree search is an example of the hierarchical symbolic approach, plus a variety of DL modules for estimating the value of various positions in the game of Go. But the famous move 78 of the Go player Lee Sedol caused a delusional behavior of AlphaGo, and people were really surprised how it did it. AlphaGo was, how did it happen? AlphaGo was very unprepared for the Sedol's move 78 because it didn't think that a human would ever play this move. Another example is NVIDIA Dev 2. Deep Explore is, you all know it, is a white box testing framework for DL systems. But it discovered an erroneous behavior in NVIDIA Dev 2. That is a self-driving car platform. The system has decided to make two different decisions for the same input image, where the only difference is the brightness level. So have a look here. These are various different references you could look into for many other instances where DL has produced the delusional or the unrealistic results. So where is the challenge? After we have gone through the limitations, let us have a look at the four major challenges. Accuracy alone is not sufficient. So you require to explore ways of opening this black box of statistical models. When DL researchers were asked to open the black box, then in today's date it implies less intelligent models. If DL researchers are asked to explain about the reasoning that they are providing, then they will come up with models with limited capability, which are less intelligent. In addition to increased performance, artificial general intelligence also aim to build the trust. A very important term, yes. They aim to build the trust also. So there is a way forward from ANI towards AGI. How is this all possible actually? How do you overcome these challenges when you move from ANI towards AGI? The statistical models, they are very, very good. Even the Turing Awards are being awarded for it. But it is ANI and you require a move from ANI to AGI. So from statistical model towards dynamic real-time decision making. How do we do it? For this, you need to understand symbolic reasoning. What is symbolic AI? You read in your traditional textbooks, Alan Rich and Knight, expert systems you have studied. We call them good old-fashioned AI. The rules engines, the traditional AI you call it. They are the first attempts to AI from 1950s till 1980s. After that, they really washed out. And very surprisingly, in today's date also, if we are taught a course in AI, we are taught about all those tools and techniques only which have been replaced by the complete machine learning and deep learning. The tools and techniques which are found in the standard AI textbooks, what they are, if you remember the propositional logic, first order predicate calculus, Lisp and Prolog were the programming languages which we used to do when we at our times also did our PG courses, and today's date also we are teaching them Lisp. If then statements you remember, the branch and bound, heuristic search, A-star search, yes, they are very much applicable, but the word has moved to ML and DL. Why? Because first of all, let us complete it. No algorithmic training is involved in all these algorithms. This is the beauty of these algorithms. You do not need to train the machine. They are dynamic, they are verifiable, and they are the explainable models. Have a look again. Let us brief it a bit more. Symbol manipulation is essential for human cognition. As I just mentioned, for statistical models, it is missing the cognitive abilities. And symbol manipulation is the symbolic reasoning, very essential for human cognition. It has set the standard for representing and manipulating abstractions. So we go back to the word of expert systems. Symbolic operations over variables. So the four major components, always in any type of programming, variables, then you have instances which are instantiating those variables. Then you do variable binding. The variables are bound to certain instances and the operations. Only these four components complete the symbolic reasoning. And these four components are the only underlying concept for all the world software, the browsers, the OS, the games, anything you go for, These four are the basic components. You have to have operations, you have to have variables, you need to bind those variables to certain instances. Look at the example of this y equal to x plus 2. You are able to automatically generalize. You are able to automatically extend to all the values in some class. For example, all the numbers. Yes, y equal to x plus 2 is true for all the numbers. No learning is involved. No experience is required. Simple manipulation is a completely different paradigm from statistical learning. Why are we saying it? Because the operations over variables are generally built to work systematically and work in the same manner always, independent of the experience, and also no learning is required. They work in the same manner always. When I say y equal to x plus 2, then yes, y equal to x plus 2 for all the numbers. They are able to generalize. Again, there were certain problems with symbolic AI also, which asked the researchers, which motivated the researchers to go to learning part, to the statistical models. They are not able to imitate all the processes of human cognition. It is able to do human cognition, but yes, not all the processes. For example, statistical models are very good at perception. Even at robotics, you are doing a hell lot of things with the deep learning algos. The learning, the pattern recognition, symbolic reasoning fails to some extent there. Even the rules are created with human intervention. That is why it takes time. It is costly and time consuming. Monotonicity, again, they are monotonic. If used alone, symbolic reasoning is monotonic. If used alone, statistical reasoning, the statistical models are also monotonic. Additional rules here are not able to undo the old knowledge. There is a difficulty of belief revision. A solution, a very good solution to monotonicity is ML. Machine learning algorithms are able to encode the tentative knowledge that can be retraced later. That is why we come to a hybrid of the symbolic and the statistical approaches. The symbol grounding problem is also a major problem with the symbolic reasoning. How do the words, the symbols get their meaning? The symbols may not link to any other non-symbolic representation. This is the problem. The non-symbolic representation that is understandable by computers, the symbols may not link to it. And neural networks are very well able to solve this symbol grounding problem because they can link symbols to the vectorized representations. So the point here to emphasize is that symbolic reasoning is very adequate for reasoning about mathematics, for reasoning about the small closed systems, but those systems should be having very defined properties. For example, the game of Go, for example, the game of chess, they have produced fruitful results. That is why we used to call them the expert systems. That is expert in one particular arena. Again, ANR, that is weak AI, artificial narrow intelligence. Symbolic reasoning alone is also not able to reach AGI. Unfortunately, multiple dead ends are quickly reached. That is why in this talk, I have brought a contrast of the symbolic and the statistical models. They have to be put together. Look at this range of from symbolic to the statistical models from the recent tutorial of 2019 by Sheth et al. Sheth and Manas Gaur, tutorial on explainable AI using knowledge graphs, rule-based reasoning, extremely symbolic, and the deep learning, extremely statistical. The statistical models are recognized in today's date by learning. They are more scientific. They are producing more scientific results. That is why people are getting more confident on it. The capacity to learn from large scale data sets. Yes. But the symbolic one, they are recognized by the knowledge, the representation and the learning. Knowledge, representation and learning. These are the three major aspects of the symbolic models. The capacity to represent abstract representations. You recall the Deep Blue example. The Deep Blue was able to conquer the chess champion. This example is the symbolic reasoning example. I'm sorry, the battery is gone. So it is still half an hour with me. So please allow me to connect to the battery and kindly collect your problems for the time being. I'll just be back. Yes, guys, I am back. For the time being, till now, I have briefed the statistical models and the symbolic models. If you have any problem till now, could you please raise your problem so that I could comfortably go forward? You could speak, you could write in chat, whatever way you feel comfortable. Okay, so I hope there are no problems till now. So Dr. Murthy, am I audible? May I continue?
Hello.
Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah, right.
Madam,
Right.
you are audible, madam. You can continue.
So I'll continue. Fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I have brought a contrast in front of you for the symbolic and the statistical models. The deep blue example that I have put forward, the chess example, is the symbolic approach. What was the problem with it? The problem is it could not learn. It is used to carry out a series of pre-programming steps. If any new move is to come, it has to be put as a rule by the expert into it. It is not able to generalize also if in its own go, because it is able to play chess, but it cannot play any other game. The beauty of statistical AI is that, say there is a man in a room, let us take an example again. Say there is a man in a room and he is just translating a note that is being slipped in his room, he is translating it. If instead of that man, I have a symbolic AI machine, how does symbolic AI works? What it will do is, it will take a dictionary of translation from one language to another. It will look into the complete dictionary, the note that is being given, it translate it and it will slip it back. But how will statistical model work upon it? The statistical model has already learned the complete language as a human being learns it. So in a flicker of second, it will be able to translate whatever is being provided to it. That is the beauty of statistical models. So let us proceed further. Look at another slide from the same tutorial. Here, if you search for Barack Obama, so this is a contrast between predictions of statistical models and the symbolic knowledge. You ask, who was the 44th president of United States of America? Without knowledge graphs, that is with the statistical models, this is the example. This is the answer. It says the answer is Barack Obama with 71% accuracy, Donald Trump with 18% accuracy. You ask it, explain why, it is not able to answer. But if you ask a symbolic program that is including the knowledge graphs, it straight away answers Barack Obama. When you ask it to explain why, it tells, yes, please see into the info boxes, or equivalently, you could see this knowledge graph, who succeeded, who preceded, and the term. You can always work out that I am giving the right answer. So the symbolic approaches with knowledge graphs are very good at providing explanations. This is what is the major drawback of the statistical models. So we need to merge both of them. Another example, AlphaGo, as I've already told you, the Google DeepMind has conquered over the best human Go player. It's deep neural. This is the contrast. The deep neural network of the AlphaGo was trained using a combination of supervised learning from human expert, was a combination of supervised learning and, yes, I'm sorry, the deep neural network was trained using a combination of two things. One is supervised learning from the human expert place, and also the reinforcement learning. That is the reinforcement learning statistical model. And from human expert, it was learned, it had supervised learning, that is the symbolic model. So AlphaGo is a good mixture. AlphaGo Zero, you come in 2017. DeepMind has improved upon its version in 2017. Now it was trained using only reinforcement learning, leaving it to learn by playing games against itself. AlphaGo Zero beat AlphaGo with just 36 hours of training. So AlphaGo and yes, it is again performing so well. Then came Alpha Zero, the latest version. It can learn games from scratch by playing against itself without any human assistance or hard-coded knowledge. Alpha Zero learned to, as an example, as a training, as a test set, Alpha Zero learned to play chess and also a Japanese game in less than 24 hours. As a comparison, IBM Deep Blue took nearly 10 years of trial and error to develop a program that defeated Garry Kasparov at chess. Why? Because IBM Deep Blue was a symbolic reasoner. There is a top-down and bottom-up contrast, also a very beautiful contrast. The symbolic approaches are top-down because they use a knowledge base, as in semantic technologies of today's date is a kind of top-down approach towards intelligence. And this is exactly how human babies learn how to perform the tasks. How do human babies perform tasks? Simply by observing their parents and copying their actions. This is a top-down approach. While the statistical approach is bottom-up, all the ML techniques can be said to be bottom-up towards learning. Take an example of, again, the human babies, how they learn to walk. How they learn to walk, it is not top-down. It is not just by observing their parents, but also over numerous tries till they refine a particular solution. So learning to walk and also the previous example to perform any or different tasks, both the approaches are required, the top-down and bottom-up, to get a better answer. One more contrast between the two different parts of our mind, System 1 and System 2. Our mind works in two different ways. According to an article from Towards Data Science on differentiating between explainable AI and explaining AI, the human brain uses two different systems to form thoughts. The System 1, as you can see, it is fast reacting with an unconscious mind and it reacts immediately. But the other one is a slow system reacting with a conscious and logical mind with deep thinking and reasoning. System 1 is automatic. It is using the similarity with the past experiences. It is learning to get a decision. While System 2 is effortful. It uses high-level reasoning to get the decisions. The System 1 is very, very intuitive. For example, mothers very well know when the kid is lying. Immediately the mother can tell that the kid is lying. This is System 1, the immediate response. That you know something without doing any reasoning. This is exactly what the current DL are very well at. The current DL algorithms are very well at System 1, but not System 2. System 2 is counterintuitive. Counterintuitive, as an example, I should say, when you keep answering for 2 minutes, you speak blah, 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 without stop, then nobody will understand. But that answer is a deep answer. It is coming from after a long reasoning from your conscious mind. This is exactly what classical symbolic AI was trying to do. And we need to combine both the systems, both the parts of our mind. The System 1 also, the System 2 also, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. We need to combine both of them to get better results. This is contextual computing, that is the hybrid. Look here, the first one, good old-fashioned AI. Then the second, the symbolic AI. Then this is statistical learning, the statistical AI, the sub-symbolic AI. And then you need a hybrid from 2020 onwards. We are working upon the hybrid approaches. That is the contextual computing. Then only you will be able to reach, you will be able to do explainable AI. You need to couple the two approaches. I have brought certain example scenarios in front of you for coupling of two approaches. For example, how could you do that? You process the noisy data which you have gathered through sensors through an ANN. Okay. From artificial neural network, you gather the data from the sensors to infer the discrete information about the environment. Now, you feed this information to a symbolic algorithm to recommend a possible action. You have done a hybrid. misclassification caused due to some statistical bias or a noisy sensor misreading, you overlay it. It should be overlaid with a symbolic constant system to ensure that the enforcement of what is logically obvious. So you overlaid with a symbolic constant system and you have done a hybrid. The various examples include the high-risk applications, managing power stations, the space applications, the autopilot systems. And for all these high-risk applications, the implication of misclassification is much more serious than recommending a wrong movie. So the hybrid model is combining machine learning with human intelligence to reach conclusions much faster than what is possible by humans alone, along with, listen very carefully, along with the explanations that are needed for trust, while also requiring far fewer data samples and conversing in very good natural language. The hybrid model is able to generalize also. It is excellent at perceiving, learning, and reasoning, and with minimal supervision. This is the beauty of the contextual computing, that is the hybrid approach. Less time is left. I can skip this slide. Yes, again I am back with the with those laureates, Andrew, Geoffrey, and Gary Marcus. Let us see what they say about the hybrid. You have already seen what they say about deep learning. Very good. Deep learning is very much required, and Gary Marcus told that it is a terrific tool, but not a panacea. Andrew NG says the skill is in designing the hybrid. Geoffrey Hinton says deep learning as a kind of low-level servant to provide them with what they need to make their symbolic reasoning work, but the symbolic reasoning is required. Gary Marcus says we need to bring together symbol manipulation, which has a strong history in AI, the expert systems and all, along with deep learning. So the premise being put up in this talk is backed by various researches from several cognitive scientists. Have a look at this example. This is knowledge infused learning. So actually now by this time I've covered 40 slides out of the total 48, and I hope the audience is convinced for the hybrid approach. Now comes how do we do it. People are doing research over it. It is the buzzword for today. Look at this approach. There, Sheth, Gore et al. Has come up with 3 different ways of doing the knowledge infused learning. I say knowledge infused learning. Why? Because DL will not go anywhere. DL will be there, but you have to use background knowledge for the symbolic approaches. So you can say it a shallow infusion of knowledge graphs to improve the semantic and conceptual processing. You do a very shallow infusion of, you just use knowledge graphs as background knowledge. And you say semi-deep infusion, deeper and congruent incorporation or integration of the knowledge graphs into the learning techniques. Then the deep infusion, that is, you combine a stratified representation of knowledge abstractions to be transferred into different layers of the deep learning model. Look here with a diagrammatic view from the same reference. This is a data set from where you will pick the training and the test set. Then you have a deep learning model, very good. You get the tacit knowledge, and finally you do the hypothesis testing. But if you want to infuse knowledge in a shallow manner, then you just add a self-aware external knowledge into it to enrich the data set with expert knowledge. That's it. When I say that you are doing semi-deep infusion, what do we mean? That you are infusing the knowledge into the model also, using knowledge graphs or whatever way. So this is semi-deep infusion. When I say deep infusion, then to the various DL layers, you are providing the stratified knowledge. Have a look at certain examples. Again, for the hybrid, people are working towards it. Google search engine, how has it done the hybrid? It is using deep learning, using transformers, a technique for sequence transduction. They use transformers for deep learning. They use symbol manipulation system. What they use for symbol manipulation? The knowledge graph navigation tools they are using. So Google search engine is a massive hybrid AI that is combining the state of the art DL algorithms as well as the symbol manipulation systems. Another example, AlphaGo. The symbolic AlphaGo, yes, it is a very good example of contextual computing. I've already talked about it. Then neurosymbolic concept learner, a beautiful example. It has been developed by the researchers at MIT and IBM. They have evaluated their neurosymbolic concept learner over the visual question answering problems over the from the Clever data set with 99.8 accuracy, but very less training data. It is able to provide the explainable results also. Now, what is this Clever data set? You might be aware of. It is having a training set of 70,000 images and approx 7 lakh questions also are there. Complete validation set is available, test set is available, the answers to questions are available. Have a look here. One instance I have brought in front of you for this neurosymbolic concept learner. See the input image. If we are testing over this input image, and the question is how many cubes are behind the cylinder are large. How many cubes that are behind the cylinder are large. So how does this learner work is total 3 steps it does. Step 1 is scene parsing. Step 2 is question parsing. And step 3 is final program execution. So the final program execution is done using a symbolic approach, and the input data is being rendered with the statistical approach. How does it do it? For this Clever scenario, a CNN is processing the input image. This CNN is processing the input image, and it is creating a list of object segments, as you can see, and the characteristics. For example, the size, shape, material, color, and so on. A second neural network, the LSTM encoder, it is processing the question and parsing it into a rule-based program. And the Clever dataset includes the rule-based programs for all the questions to run them. Now, this rule-based program that has been generated from the question can be run over a symbolic program. This symbolic program created from the input question will operate over the object segments that have been created by the CNN, created from the image in a traditional rule-based manner. And finally, you get an answer that is 3. So a beautiful example of the hybrid approach, a very simple example I have brought in front of you as an introductory talk. I have come to a conclusion. To achieve artificial general intelligence, a shift of perspective is required from the learning only mode to giving space to knowledge, reasoning, and cognitive science, which is very much required. That is the symbolic approach. And you have to move from the learning only mode to providing a space to knowledge, reasoning, and cognitive science. I briefly also explained that the hybrid is not sufficient for AGI. At least it could build our trust by opening the black box. The hybrid approach could build our trust at least because it will be able to open the black box, the opaque box. The talk will be there on the web within a week or 2. So I'm done with this. This is a list of bibliography which you could explore. Thank you very much. If you have any questions and comments, I'm open for it. The participants, you could raise your queries, if any, and I will very much like for the participants of today to think at least once in this direction to use the hybrid.
Madam, good afternoon, madam. Good afternoon, madam.
Yeah, who is it?
This is Dr. Dilip Kumar Reddy, madam. Dr. Dilip Kumar Reddy, one of the participants. Madam, yes. what is the latest research problems in this area, madam? What is the latest?
Actually, this is problem. This is the every problem which you are doing with deep learning are the problems for the hybrid approach. With deep
Okay.
what I have already told you, what you should do is actually people are trying to do deep learning, do recommendation, propose actions, do everything with 100% deep learning. Deep learning will be very good for getting the input, because deep learning is very good in object determination, in speech recognition, in
Okay.
image processing. So you use deep learning there for getting the input. But for making the model, if you use the rule-based system, then this can be one hybrid. Another way, what you could do is you could use knowledge graph for bringing the symbolic approach. And the current semantic technologies, you might have heard of semantic web. Semantic web has provided beautiful semantic technologies to us, the OWL, RDF knowledge graphs. You make use of those technologies. You store your data in triple stores instead of storing it in RDBMS, and just see the complete transformation in your algorithms you will receive. And my next talk, I think tomorrow, with the sister concern of the same college, I will be talking about the present and future of semantic technologies only. So anybody interested could join there. Yeah, Mr. Dilip, I hope I answered your query.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Thank you. Thank you for your valuable nice session, madam.
Yeah, anybody, please go ahead, because I'll be happy interacting with you, and I'll be happy attending your queries, any of your queries, for a way to artificial general intelligence.
Hello.
Yeah.
What is the benefit of participate?
I couldn't hear, please. Please repeat. I couldn't hear.
What is the benefit of participate? Hello.
I'm sorry. I couldn't get it. What is the benefit of?
Ma'am. Participate.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Dr. Murthy. Can you please pronounce?
Chappan, sir.
Yeah, we cannot understand your question. What is the benefit of?
What is the benefit of participate?
Yeah, can you type in the chat box?
Actually, I could understand the term you are using. If you could type in the chat box.
So other participants, any questions?
We could understand the term you are speaking. So if you could write in the chat box, it could give a better impression to us. And any other queries, please? I'll be happy to address.
Okay.
Dr. Murthy, yeah.
What is the benefit of participate? So, is this question is to the madam or to the coordinator? I did not understand.
Is this a question for the coordinator of the FDP or for the talk?
Sir, leave it, sir. That question is not necessary to take this one, sir. Please leave it, madam and sir. Okay, that person is don't know. I don't know what he wrote. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Please
Sitaram
go ahead.
sir. Yeah,
Any
thank you,
other
Dilip, sir.
queries, please?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah. That
Dr.
person is
Murthy?
that. But where is the mind like that or no? Please leave it. No problem, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Please go ahead.
So good afternoon all. Madam, it's a wonderful session, madam.
Okay.
So,
actually, it's my current research area, and I feel if many of my colleagues or the new scholars could join the hybrid approach, because I can see a wave of deep learning. So I have used both the approaches. I have told about the goodness of deep learning and also of the hybrid approach. So it will be better if some new scholars could join us in this view of hybrid approaches.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I wanted to know what are the in this use of machine learning and deep learning in the area of cyber security. Like, what are the projects or what are the research are going on in that area in cyber security domain?
Okay, okay. I hope actually this is not, I have not worked very much in cyber security. I have not worked at all in cyber security. So I may not be able to answer this question. If there is something from my talk, please go ahead.
I want to know like where these like where we can mix these two domains. Like, what are the projects that might be mixing those domains? So
Okay,
that
okay,
is
okay. What we could do is actually, it is very simple. As I've told you, if you remember the slide from Amit Sheth, the three different ways of infusing knowledge into learning. So you could go with knowledge graphs for storing data, the data coming from anywhere, the data even on the web as Facebook, the WhatsApp. So you need to secure the data. For securing your data, if you put up in triple stores in the RDF format, you could have a better security over it. So this is how you could make a hybrid of your DL and the symbolic approaches there.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the session, ma'am. It was very enlightening. It was very nice to be introduced with this concept, because it is very much talked about, but we don't know the depths. And thank you, ma'am.
So thank you, madam. It's a wonderful session, as I already mentioned before. So on behalf of all the participants, I take the opportunity to propose vote of thanks to Dr. Sarika Jain, madam, for her presentation in our HTTP, which is being organized by the IT Department of Vishnu Institute of Technology, Bhimavaram, Andhra Pradesh. So in this
Thank you,
lesson,
sir.
thank you, madam. Yeah, in this particular
Yeah,
session,
thank you very much.
we understood many deep learning and machine learning concepts. These 2 hours are very well spent for all our participants. So thank you very much. I also request the
Yeah,
participants to.
thanks for inviting me here, and I was very happy delivering the session. Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
may I leave, Dr. Murthy?
Yeah, it's again, I am Murthy, madam, talking. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye, madam. Yeah, hello. Someone is typing dots. You can please ask now. So, excuse me. Yeah, you are typing now. You can simply pose a question. Sir, please. Yeah, IDs were given in your WhatsApp group. We'll share it again. So, have you joined in the WhatsApp group? Okay, we'll send all the IDs to the participants to their personal mail IDs also. So, thank you all. స్పెల్లింగ్ తప్పు వచ్చిందా?